Alex Pereira's sons, Jamal Hill and Jiri Prochazka, are set to face each other in the featured fight of UFC 311, and both fighters are coming off brutal KOs from their father.
That's so disrespectful.
And you know what? Both fighters took interesting paths after their losses to Poatan. Jiri went into hibernation, while Hill just went to Twitter to show his delusion.
It's so funny. I think Jamal Hill is the first and only person to show off his first round KO loss. He's like, I got caught. You got dominated.
I think that they're both secretly hoping that Ankalaev can somehow beat Pereira so that they can get a shot back at the title. Because if Pereira's at the top, these guys got to stay away from the top for a while.
Interesting. I actually disagree. I think both of them would actually want, maybe not Jiri, but Jamal Hill 1,000% wants a Pereira rematch.
But here's the thing: is they don't deserve them. Neither of them deserve a Pereira rematch. What is one thing these guys have done that deserves a Jiri Pereira rematch?
No, I know. They're both of their last losses are from Alex Pereira.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad the UFC made this fight because it is the perfect fight to make.
And we don't know how good either of these guys are at this point. You know? Like Jiri, you beat Alexander Rakic at 300, but like...
Yeah, that's his last win, and we know Rakic is not... Well, we don't rate him that highly, you know?
No, and he's by far the worst... He might be the worst top fiver in the whole UFC.
Oh, easily. Unless we're talking about heavyweight. But let's talk about Jiri Prochazka, because he came into the UFC on fire. Mm-hmm. Like, genuinely the most exciting fighter at the time. And then took some time off because of the injury. Him and Jamal were originally slated to fight for the belt because of the whole, relinquishing, and then Jamal relinquished, and then Pereira took it. So it was a long road to get to this fight. But is it crazy to say that I'm actually looking forward to this fight maybe more than any other fight on 311?
I think it's going to be the closest fight because this one I genuinely have gone back and forth, and we'll talk about this more later, but like, I still don't know who I'm picking.
Yeah.
We're 8 days out at the time of filming this. By the time it's posted, a few days out from the fight, and I still don't know who I'm picking. I think if we look at Jiri's last 5 fights, obviously most recently that round 2 loss by KO to Alex Pereira, he didn't do anything in that fight. He literally just was a punching bag for Pereira.
Yeah, he had no offense going whatsoever.
Yeah. Fight before that, the win over Alexander Rakic with that round 2 ground and pound TKO. But here's the thing is, Rakic won the first round, and then Jiri just kind of was Jiri, flipped the switch, hit something crazy, and then wins the fight. Before that, round 2 TKO to Alex Pereira. Before that is when we have Yuri's highlight of his career, that round 5 rear naked choke over Glover Teixeira in what is one of the best fights in UFC history, was able to really just prove himself. That was his like shining moment, and then before that, the spinning elbow KO over Dominic Reyes.
When Dominic Reyes was still ranked like 3.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like we have to look at this. We had 3 championship fights in his last 5, and his only losses are to Pereira.
Yeah, he's still such a high level fighter, and I think if Pereira didn't exist in the division, he would still be the champion. Yeah, most likely.
Maybe Ank by now.
Yeah, who knows? They probably would have had a matchup by now. Yeah. But it's tough because in the first Alex Pereira fight, he didn't even really get knocked out. He was not out.
Yeah, it was TKO.
It was a TKO, and like I would say it was an early stoppage. I don't say early stoppage very much because I don't need to see someone get completely lights out.
Dead.
Exactly. But I do actually think that this was an early stoppage because of how many wars that Jiri had been through. And that he has a crazy chin and he will get back up. The Glover
had a crazy chin.
Well, yeah, we'll see about that. But the Glover fight, like you look at that, if they would have stopped that fight the same way they stopped Pereira fight, it would have been over a lot sooner, you know? And then the second fight against Pereira, I think that's where lots of the questions start to come in because realistically, he did get KO'd twice.
Yeah.
He got caught at the end of the first round, and that should have been a finish if the round went on 10 seconds longer.
Yeah.
And then instantly got head kicked, and Goddard let that go on a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Dead. All right, let's now look at Jamal Hill's last 5. So Jamal's 4-1 in his last 5. He has that loss to Alex Pereira where the left hook into the ground and pound. But before that, had the title win over Glover Teixeira. So they both have championship wins over Teixeira. And then we have, before that, the TKO ground and pound win over Thiago Santos, the overhand right KO win over Johnny Walker, and then the right hook win over Jimmy Crute. Here's the thing. Hill's 4-1 in his last 5, but the wins of Prohaska are much better than the wins of Hill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just tough on how you really go about it, you know?
Yeah, I think with Hill, the Glover Teixeira win was weird because it doesn't feel like Hill ever won a belt to me because of the state that Teixeira was in.
Yeah, like this was already after he had lost the belt to Jiri, and then they're like throwing him back in there.
And he's 42 at this point, or 43. Like, it is not
handed
great.
Hill the belt.
And yeah, you know, there's all those memes about Hill's footwork in that fight where he was literally crossing his feet over, and it truly is bad. His footwork is so bad, and I think, you know, we'll talk about it a little bit later in the video, but if you're going up against Jiri, who's a very fast and unorthodox striker who can overwhelm you and who can take a shot, Johnny Walker cannot take a shot. Glover Teixeira used to be able to take a shot. After that Jiri fight, I don't think he was the same. And then Pereira can take a good shot at light heavyweight, and he lost that fight. So this is the most intriguing fight because they're both coming off losses and they both have wins over the same person.
Yeah.
I am like,
they both have wins over Teixeira, but they both lost to Poatan.
Yeah, and they both won the belt and had to relinquish it.
Exactly.
Like it's literally a mirror matchup. Let's take a look at the odds. Do you know who's the favorite?
They're even.
They're
both
even.
minus 110 right now.
Interesting. I'm a bit surprised.
I mean, that's fair though. Like I was originally on Team Hill, and then I was leaning Team Jiri, but now I'm like Yuri's chin. It's genuinely tough. There's no wrong answer in who you pick here, and like this is why this fight is so intriguing to us because it's literally gonna be back and forth. You don't know who's gonna win.
Yeah.
You know, there's no one with a clear advantage, or at least we don't know if there's an advantage yet. We might figure that out.
Yes. Also, I do believe that this fight will 100% end in a finish.
I do too.
Even though it's 3 rounds.
It is only 3.
Jiri Prohaska against Jamal Hill, they are not going past 3 rounds.
Yeah, and here's the thing is like Jiri can just throw something out of nowhere, you know, and who knows if Hill's smart enough to like, you know, if you don't want to stay in close with Jiri because next thing you know, just boom.
Exactly. Elbows, knees, everything.
Yeah. So off the bat, Lucas, what are your immediate thoughts about this fight? I know you've kind of already expressed that this is the most exciting fight for you on the card, but like, how are you feeling about both guys' chances right now?
I think both of them have an equally good chance to win.
Yeah.
That's why it's pick'em odds. Jamal Hill, I think, has technically less skill, maybe the same amount of power, though. Jamal Hill's a very powerful striker. You look at his record, and he has a lot of KO wins. And he has, like, his straight punch is where it really shines. But, you know, his KO wins are against Johnny Walker, Thiago Santos. Like, it's not quite as high level as Jiri Prohaska's wins. And I do think that Jiri Prohaska it's something that's not quantifiable. It's not an attribute. He has finishing ability.
Yeah.
Jiri Prohaska has a weird ability to finish a fight when he senses blood in the water.
Yeah.
And against Pereira, that didn't work because Pereira has a pretty good chin at light heavyweight and can counter-strike very well and who hits even harder. You know, he had him up against the cage and was landing massive bombs on Pereira. I don't think Jamal Hill eats that.
No. And I think that that's really the thing is like Hill, I mean, his footwork's terrible, but I don't even know if he's technically better. He might be more powerful than Jiri, but Jiri is just so unpredictable, is good in terms of full body striking. You never know what he's going to do with knees, kicks, elbows, punches. You don't know what's coming with him. It's just genuinely going to be what state is Jiri at after that 303 loss? Because that was realistically 2 knockouts he took in the same fight. Like that does some damage to you, and then plus ground and pound after like a couple of giant hammer fists. It's tough. So my next question, with more so related around Jiri, is we've seen Jiri pick up some big submission wins in his career, specifically over Glover Teixeira. Could we see Jiri potentially bring this fight to the ground, or is that going to be a result of, if this fight goes to the ground, of a knockdown and then Jiri trying to finish it in terms of a submission?
Yeah, I don't think Jiri shoots a double leg takedown. I think he'll use the clinch. He's quite good in the clinch. I also think that, like you said, if he gets a knockdown, which I think is pretty likely, he'll take it to the ground. He's very good at finding a submission once someone is hurt. In his last fight against Pereira, his last 2 fights against Pereira, I was in the mindset that he is going to wrestle or use jujitsu, just grapple him, because that would be the logical thing to do. After seeing those performances, I just do not have faith that he's going to do the logical thing. So I think it's going to be a stand and bang war until someone gets hurt, and Jiri most likely follows him to the ground.
Well, I think that the clinch is a good idea for Jiri. Just with him, the elbows on Jiri like are so effective inside of the clinch, and he can just do damage in the clinch. But at the same time, it is a 3-round fight. If it's a 5-round fight, I think it's almost a guarantee. But who knows how much of these guys are just going to want to stand up the whole time. You know, another talking point we've been kind of mentioning all video is just how do we think that, like, realistically, how are their chins going to hold up? Because obviously, Yuri's knockout was a little bit more vicious at 303, but Jamal realistically got knocked out cold almost for the first time in his career.
But yeah, so Jamal Hill's had more time off, right? So Jiri has had higher frequency of fights, and he's been taking damage all his fights. Jiri fought 295 or 296 whenever that first career fight, and then he had 300 and then 303, all taking massive amounts of damage. Crazy enough, I think his first Pereira fight might be the least amount of damage that he took. He took tons of damage from Rakic.
Rakic cooked him in the first round.
Yeah, and then and
then he was Jiri. He was literally just Jiri.
Exactly, and then Jamal Hill came off that 9-month injury from his Achilles, right, or something
with something in his leg,
something major, and then had that 300 fight. Maybe it was a fast turnaround. Who knows? It didn't affect him anyways because he got KO'd.
And then he was going to have that fast turnaround for 303 until McGregor dropped it.
Exactly. So he's had 11 cards, which is probably about 7 months 7 or 8 months now.
Yeah.
So he's had a long layoff without any damage. And like you said, he did get KO'd, but it wasn't as vicious as the second Jiri fight.
Yeah, and like you could genuinely see after that 303 fight that Jiri was genuinely hurt.
Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes people
he needed 5 people to get him up.
They had to lift him up, and then he fell down after. Like, he went into that cave because he wasn't allowed to see the light, you know, like for the concussion.
Yeah.
All right. How should each of these fighters approach this fight? Like, what is going to be their plan to victory, and how are they going to take themselves to a win here?
So Jiri, normally I would say he's going to do the exact same thing that he always does. He's going to eat big strikes to land big strikes, and because he hits harder, he will win. And because he's more unorthodox and you can't train for him, I do think he has always a good shot to win any fight, and he also has grappling. So I think he has more tools in his bag to win against Jamal Hill, but the main thing we're basing this off of is the amount of damage he's taken. So that's really the toss-up. If you think he still has a chin, I think he wins this fight, and I think he wins it not easily, but I don't think it'll be close.
Yeah.
Right? If he doesn't have a chin, I see him getting caught with a straight and not being able to recover. Right? It gets caught with a straight in the first round, never gets going. Maybe it is a decision win for Jamal Hill.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that happening. In terms of approaches, though, Jiri has also talked about how he needs to switch up his game plan if he ever wants to get a title win at light heavyweight.
Yeah.
So are we going to see him develop a new style? Beats me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think with Jiri, I think that as weird as it is to say for a guy who has this, we have a new untested chin for him. You know, this is a new chin with it being cracked in his previous fight bad. But I think I really like the idea of Jiri closing the distance all fight. Because if they keep their distance, I think that that's where you favor Jamal Hill being able to, I don't like the word point fight, but like, you know, stand off, trade straights. You know, that's where Yuri's going to lose. But if he can close the distance, make this fight messy, get Hill into the clinch, that's where he's going to have, you know, he's going to have clinch control time. He's going to have those elbows. He's going to have those little punches to the head. That's what's going to add up, and I think it's going to really help Jiri. And then when Jamal Hill gets scrambly trying to escape those clinches, that's when we get to see those elbows, and that's where we get to see the finishing from Jiri Prochazka. Whereas Jamal Hill, he's just got to be patient. You know, I think that Jiri so often is his own worst enemy in the ring. He is his own kryptonite. Jiri does stupid things, and then Jiri gets caught.
Yeah, he does stupid things.
You have to just let this fight marinate. If you have to lose a first round where nothing really happened, if you're Jamal Hill, That's okay. You let this fight play out and then you pick your spots, you know? We don't see Poatan. He's beat Jiri twice. Do we see Poatan start scrambling in there? No, we see him picking his shots, you know?
True.
And Jamal Hill has the power with those straights to just pick his shots over Jiri.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, what is each fighter's X factor?
Jiri's is obviously his unpredictability. There's nothing else. His scrambling, his unpredictability. You know, you never know we can pull out a crazy KO. Jamal Hill's in this fight, I would say, is his inactivity. You know, his lack of fighting over the last 18 months or so, or just over a year. That is going to help him out over a guy like Jiri who just fights.
Yeah.
All that dude does is fight. You know?
Yeah, I think with Jamal Hill, I think it might be his mindset because he believes he wants to get back to that rematch so bad.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, we've seen it with Armin, that can be the greatest motivator to get back to something that you believe you should have the opportunity to win. Armin, a lesser person, might have gone to sleep against Charles Oliveira in that Armin fight. But Armin has a goal in his mind. And I think when you have something driving you, like Jamal Hill does, even though he is delusional, we've talked about you need to be delusional as a fighter.
That's the only way in all of sports. You need to believe that you're the best.
Exactly. So,
and who knows if Jiri believes he's the best anymore is the thing too. He's kind of openly stated that he may not be at that top level, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
All right. This is the point in time where we would give you our predictions for the fight. But guys, we're just a couple days away from full UFC 311 predictions. This is the least Dodson's Corner thing we've ever done. And it's also kind of because I still don't know who I'm picking. I still genuinely have no idea who I'm picking. So you're going to have to wait a couple days. Early this week, we're going to have our full UFC 311 card predictions and breakdown. That's where you're going to find our predictions for every single fight, including this one. And I really hope by then I'll have my mind made up on who I'm picking. That is going to do it for us today. Make sure you guys go down to the comments. Let us know who you have in this fight and why you think Jiri or Hill is going to win. While you're down there, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you all for so much love lately, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
See ya.